The last witness map the sequence. They didn't fall behind by accident. They were trained to stop questioning. There is a cognitive cost to never being challenged. When your position is protected, your thinking doesn't sharpen, it stabilizes. And stable thinking over time becomes rigid thinking. And once thinking becomes rigid, correction feels like a threat instead of a tool. This is the architect's blind spot, mechanics of cognitive reversal. So let's define the two conditions clearly. One group operates inside systems where their position is assumed. They are rarely forced to prove, adapt, or question at a fundamental level. Their environment protects their conclusions before those conclusions are tested. The other group operates inside systems where nothing is assumed. They are required to adjust, interpret, and verify constantly because error carries immediate consequences. One is buffered from pressure, the other is shaped by it. What you're seeing is not random behavior, it's patterned cognitive limitation. Echo chambering. Information is only accepted if it reinforces what is already believed. Confirmation bias. Data is filtered, not analyzed. Anchoring bias. First assumptions become permanent conclusions, even when disproven. Availability heuristics. What's familiar is mistaken for what's accurate. Groupthink. Agreement is prioritized over accuracy. Emotional reasoning. If it feels true, it is treated as true. Rigid thinking. An inability to update conclusions when new information appears. This produces a closed-loop mind, a system where incorrect ideas don't get corrected, they get reinforced. And once that loop is established, confidence increases while accuracy declines. You can see it in real time. Confident statements that collapse under basic scrutiny, positions defended without verification, certainty without comprehension. Not because information isn't available, but because it isn't being processed. Here's the root. When someone is conditioned to believe they are already correct, they stop developing error detection. They stop auditing their own thinking. And without self-audit, distortion becomes permanent. This is how cognitive decline hides inside confidence. Now look at the opposite condition. When someone is forced to navigate contradiction, pressure, and misalignment, their brain adapts. They develop pattern recognition. They develop situational awareness. They develop what has been described as double consciousness, the ability to see from more than one frame at once. That produces cognitive flexibility, analytical range, context awareness, rapid error detection, adaptive reasoning. So now you have two different outcomes. One group trained to defend a position, the other forced to understand reality. One rewarded for being right, the other forced to survive being wrong. And survival is a more powerful teacher than validation. So what does that look like today? One group struggles when conditions change. The other adapts immediately. One repeats information. The other analyzes it. One reacts emotionally to contradiction. The other investigates it. That's the gap, not intelligence, processing. And this is where it shifts. What happens when these two ways of thinking collide? You get instability because one side is operating on verification and the other is operating on assumption. One adapts when reality shifts, the other resists and breaks under it. That's why you're seeing friction everywhere. Institutions losing credibility, leadership making decisions that don't match reality, policies failing under pressure because decisions are being made from closed loops in an open, changing world. When rigid thinking meets adaptive thinking, rigid systems begin to collapse. Not all at once, in pieces. slow failures, visible contradictions, unexplained breakdowns, and at the same time, something else rises. The people who learn to navigate complexity become the ones who can stabilize it. They see patterns early. They adjust faster. They build differently. So the world begins to shift. Authority moves away from titles and toward capability. Influence moves away from position and toward perception. And systems built on assumption get replaced by systems built on reality. This was never just about who was ahead. It was about who kept learning and who stopped. And when those two meet, only one of them can keep up. That is why this level of understanding is rarely sustained in public view. Systems built on assumption cannot withstand continuous audit. So the deeper patterns, the real cognitive blueprints, are always pushed out of sight. That is where the next layer exists. I am moving the full forensic breakdowns, the pattern analysis, the real-world applications, and the extended audits into the Substack vault. That is where the signal sharpens. That is where the noise disappears. That is where you build your own internal framework, internalize your authority, strengthen your perception. If this hits you with clarity, subscribe to keep this signal active on the platform, then move to the Substack and step into the full audit, because once you begin to see patterns at this level, you stop reacting and you start positioning. We are not here to consume information. We are here to process it. We are the architects of the shift, and the structure is already changing. I am the last witness. This audit is closed until the next sequence begins.